sitting at the bar counter of my usual spot. I was sipping my regular whiskey on the rocks when I suddenly heard a familiar voice behind me.
Wait, no way. Why are you here?
I turned around with a feeling of disgust as intense as the screeching sound made by my nails on the glass. It was my ex-wife, Linda. Linda, what about you? Why are you here? I responded.
Why? I like the vibe of this bar. It's a bit pricey, but my husband earns well, so the higher price suits us. You, on the other hand, weren't making much, so aren't you stretching yourself thin by coming here? Trying too hard to look good, aren't you? Or did you decide to splurge what little money you have today? Poor thing. I guess I could buy you a drink out of pity?
Linda stood there, looking down at me sitting in my chair, and went on talking non-stop.
Wearing such a cheap shirt, you really look terrible.
Hearing that, I was annoyed, though I had intended not to care about what Linda said. But getting angry would only play into your hands, so I kept my cool. Please just leave me alone and move quickly to another table. Just when I was enjoying my drink, it all went downhill. To my dismay, Linda decided to sit right next to me.
How's it going? You're still slaving away at that run-down little salon, aren't you? Stuck with a pitiful salary for life. Meanwhile, my husband. He's about to be promoted to department head. Unlike you, he's actually competent. How come there's such a big difference between brothers? Leaving you was definitely the right choice.
Linda rattled on with her sarcasm. Being so loaded with snide remarks almost felt like a twisted form of hospitality. Maybe this was her way of providing entertainment. Or maybe not. I shook my head, snapping out of it, and reminded myself that my ex-wife, Linda, was the worst. After all, she seduced my brother while married to me, then divorced me to marry him. The fact that such a terrible person exists, not just in soap operas but in real life, still sends shivers down my spine. Wanting to avoid further engagement, I decided to keep my responses neutral. So Mike is getting ahead. Good for him, I told Linda.
Pathetic, aren't you?
Linda said, continuing to look down on me. Then Mary, a regular at the bar, who had been silently listening to our conversation, spoke up. Mary and I often met at this bar and had shared stories with each other.
Hey, I don't know what your relationship with Kevin is, but you sure talk big, don't you? It's quite unpleasant to listen to. I don't know who you think you are, but do you even know anything about him, the guy sitting here?
I quickly said to her, Mary, it's okay. No need to say anything more. Then Mary, with a triumphant look, tilting her wine glass, said to me,
You should stand up for yourself, Kevin. Just take down this superficial, nasty woman with a few words.
Hearing this, Linda raised her voice.
What? Who does this lady think she is? So rude to talk like that when we've just met. Outsiders should keep their mouths shut.
But ignoring Linda's protest, Mary continued.
Rude? That's laughable coming from you. You're far more offensive. Well, take a good look with those murky eyes of yours. Hey, bartender, show this rude woman the magazine from earlier.
Mary called out to the bartender.
The magazine from earlier, right. Here you go.
The bartender placed an international edition of the globally famous fashion magazine Beauty Woman, abbreviated as BW, on the counter where the three of us were seated.
What is this?
Linda said, flustered as she looked at the magazine cover. My name is Kevin O'Connor. I grew up in a suburb just outside of Manhattan, in a family of 4, my father, mother, older brother, and myself. My father, who had been good at drawing since childhood, aimed for art college after high school, but gave up after failing the entrance exam 3 times. After those 3 failed attempts, he entered the workforce straight from high school and struggled to find a well-paying job. My mother, sheltered and naive, married my father by chance and resented his lack of higher education as they lived in poverty. Thanks to that, my brother Mike and I were constantly told by our mother that getting into a high-ranking school was the most important thing in life. Mike took that to heart, diligently studied amidst busy club activities during middle school, and went on to a prestigious private high school. He maintained high grades in high school, faced college entrance exams, and graduated from a renowned university. However, I was not influenced by my mother or brother. Though my dad gave up on art school, he spent his weekends painting as a hobby and attending solo exhibitions of his artist friends. I was shaped by such influences from my father.
I'm heading to the gallery in Chelsea to look at some paintings. Wanna come along?
He often invited me like this on Sundays. And while my brother Mike showed no interest, I was keen on art and frequently joined him on these outings. Dad knew many in the art scene, providing me with plenty of opportunities to meet artists as a child. Influenced by this, I decided to become a hairstylist. So after high school, I didn't go to college but enrolled in a beauty trade school instead. Most of my peers went on to high school, and I did consider it. Not that I didn't. The idea of following my mom's advice to graduate from a good college and land a stable corporate job seemed fine too. But since Mike was already pursuing that path, I felt I didn't need to, and there was another reason. When I was in 9th grade, I overheard my mother one night talking to my father. How are we going to manage Kevin's school expenses? We're already struggling with Mike's tuition and tutoring fees. Feeling guilty for eavesdropping, that conversation clinched my decision that I didn't need to go to college. Sure, beauty school cost money, but I managed by working part-time to cover my tuition and pocket money. I enjoyed studying beauty and felt it suited me well. So, I never doubted that I was living a successful life. And at 18, I started working as an apprentice hairstylist. Although the pay was low, I found it fulfilling. 2 years into my career, I was recognized as a hairstylist and moved out to live on my own. Life was tough, but I could make ends meet by keeping my expenses low. Then, at the elementary school reunion when I turned 20 years old, a turning point arrived for me.
It's been a while. Kevin?
That was Linda Emerson, a classmate from elementary and middle school, as she approached me. I didn't remember her. No surprise there. Despite attending the same elementary and middle school, we had only been in the same class once. That was when she transferred in during the spring semester of 3rd grade, and we were only in the same class then. So, we were classmates for just 1 semester.
Man, it's such a shock to be forgotten by Kevin.
Linda said, making me feel a bit guilty. At 20, she was very beautiful, and since my life was all work with no time for romance, I admit she caught my attention. She asked for my contact, followed up with calls, and even asked me out. So before I knew it, we were dating. She had a strong desire to get married, and after some thought, we tied the knot at 23. Being a hairstylist in a small suburban salon, I wasn't exactly well off financially. So, we couldn't have a big wedding, nor could we afford a lavish life after marriage. I thought it would be better to wait until my income improved, but Lindy insisted. I want to get married now. So, I made up my mind. We couldn't afford a rich lifestyle yet, but I decided to work hard to gradually increase our income. After all, it wasn't just my life anymore. I had a family now. Since our marriage, I dedicated even more time to studying about beauty whenever I could. The owner of the salon even discussed a promotion to manager with me, but I was constantly pondering whether it was better to take the promotion or change my workplace for further career advancement. That was when it happened. A year after getting married,
Sorry, I need to talk.
I got a message on my phone from my brother Mike. He usually doesn't contact me much. What's this about? I texted back, "What's up?" and he replied wanting to meet. So we decided to catch up after work the next day. When I arrived at the cafe we agreed to meet at, it wasn't just Mike waiting there, but oddly, my wife Linda was also there sitting next to him. I thought I was here to talk to Mike. Why is Linda here? I asked, completely puzzled, and sat across from Mike and Linda.
I'm really sorry, Kevin.
Mike said, apologizing deeply to me. Linda was silent, saying nothing. What are you sorry about? I felt an odd tension in the air, and even the coffee I drank lost its taste.
It's cruel to make my sweetie Mike say it, so I'll tell you myself.
Linda spoke up. I couldn't believe my ears. Linda doesn't even call me sweetie or anything. But now, she called him Sweetie Mike.
I'm sorry, Kevin. I want to divorce you and be with Mike.
Linda said assertively. I was completely lost for words. I don't understand what you're saying. That was all I could manage to say.
I've grown to dislike our married life, and I've fallen in love with Mike.
Linda said. Linda, do you realize what you're saying? You married me, remember? Falling for my brother. Doesn't that seem wrong to you? How did this even happen? I was confused about who was wrong, what was wrong, and why it was all happening.
I know it's wrong to be with my brother's wife, but I was moved by Linda's passion.
Mike told me. At that moment, something snapped in my mind. I had resolved to protect my wife as family once we married, and though I was still figuring things out, I was working towards becoming better. But Linda had decided on her own to divorce me and involve my brother. Now that I think about it, she often came home late, but I worked late too and thought she was just busy with her job. Was she actually meeting with my brother? I don't know how or why it all happened, and at this point, I didn't even want to know. Here they were, my brother and my wife, sitting together, saying the same thing. And that was the reality. Fine, do as you like. Disgusted, I left the cafe. However, Linda and I lived in the same house, so when I got home, she arrived shortly after. Amid the awkward silence, I finally said to her, "If you had issues with me, I wish you would have told me."
I like you as a person, Kevin, but Mike has a higher education and earns more?
Hearing that from Linda, I trembled with rage. But knowing that some women prioritize education and income, I resigned myself to it and tried to calm down. Sorry for not earning more, but you didn't have to go about it this way, right? I said, trying my best to stay composed. However, Linda just said, "I'm not the bad one here," and went to her room. Watching her walk away, I truly thought, I don't care anymore. Even if I was at fault for not being more successful, wanting to remarry my brother was just wrong. And if Linda only sees Mike as a highly educated and high-earning man, it seems like she's just using him for convenience. I thought Mike was crazy to consider being with his brother's wife, but he was always the earnest and hard-working type. Sure, he can be stubborn and strong-willed because of his earnest nature. I worried that Mike was being manipulated by Linda. "Mike, think it over again. She said she wants to marry you because you're highly educated and earn a lot. If she doesn't truly love you, I'm worried about your future." I sent that message to Mike that night, but the reply I got was,
It's uncool to say things like that just because you want to keep Linda.
I was disappointed. I had no lingering feelings for Linda. Rather, I questioned her character. I just wanted to warn my brother so he wouldn't be harmed. But it's a decision each adult must make for themselves. So I realized I couldn't say anything more to Mike. And so, without asking for any alimony, I agreed to the divorce. I felt neither loneliness nor regret, but rather a sense of relief. I told both my parents and Linda's parents, "We've talked it over and agreed on everything, so there's no need to worry." After the divorce was finalized, I never saw Mike and Linda again. I made sure to visit my parents when they weren't around to avoid any encounters. 3 years passed. By that time, I hardly thought about my ex-wife and brother. The initial period post-divorce was tough, filled with moments of deep sadness, but not because of losing Linda. Rather, the memory of my wife and brother wanting to marry each other during our marriage made me distrustful of people for a while. However, time is the greatest healer, and over those 3 years, my wounds healed, and the flashback stopped. I was living my days peacefully and happily. Then one day, after work, I stopped by my regular bar. Little did I know something unbelievable was about to happen. While drinking my usual whiskey on the rocks at the counter, I suddenly heard a familiar voice behind me.
Wait, what? Why are you here?
I turned around, feeling as much disgust as the screech of nails on glass. It was my ex-wife, Linda. "Linda, what about you? Why are you here?" I responded,
Well, I like the ambience here. It's a bit pricey, but my husband earns well, so it suits us. You, on the other hand, must be stretching your budget to be here, right? You're trying too hard to impress, huh? Or did you come here today to blow all your money? Poor thing. I could buy you a drink if you really want.
Linda said, standing and looking down on me as I sat in my chair, rattling on by herself. I didn't respond because arguing would just be playing into your hands, so I quietly listened to her. Undeterred, Linda continued,
Wearing such a cheap shirt, you really look awful.
Hearing this, I tried not to let Linda's words get to me, but I couldn't help feeling a bit irritated. However, getting angry would just be what she wanted, so I stayed calm. I just wanted her to leave me alone and move to another table. I was enjoying my drink until this. What a waste! Then, unbelievably, Linda sat down next to me.
2 glasses of the cassis and orange, please?
Linda ordered, and in about 3 minutes, 2 glasses of the cassis and orange were placed in front of us with a thud.
Here you go.
I nearly fell off my chair as Linda handed me one of the cases in orange. Wait, this is for me? Surprised, I asked, and Linda said, of course. You don't think I'd drink two at the same time, do you? I'm not a fan of sweet drinks. Mixing sweet liquor with sweet juice really doesn't make sense to me. I'm really in a bind, but arguing with Linda seemed like a hassle. So I just said, thanks, and took the glass with a cloudy drink.
How's it going? Still slaving away at that run-down little salon. Living on a meager salary for life is just pitiful. On the other hand, my husband. He's about to become a department head. Unlike you, he's competent. How can there be such a difference between brothers sharing the same blood? Leaving you was definitely the right move.
Linda rattled on by herself, packing her speech with sarcasm. Faced with such an abundance of snide remarks, I almost wondered if this was her twisted way of being hospitable. Maybe this was Linda's unique way of entertaining me. Or perhaps not. I shook my head, coming back to my senses, and remembered that my ex-wife was the worst. After all, Linda, while married to me, had seduced my brother and then divorced me to remarry him. The fact that such an awful person exists, not just in fiction but in reality, still sends shivers down my spine. Determined not to get involved anymore, I decided to keep my responses non-committal. Mike is getting promoted, huh? Congratulations, I said to Linda.
Huh? Pathetic little brother?
Linda continued to look down on me with disdain. Then Mary, who had been silently listening to our conversation next to us, spoke up. Mary and I often met in this bar and would chat.
Hey you, I don't know what your relationship with Kevin is, but you sure speak arrogantly, don't you? It's quite unpleasant to listen to. I don't know who you think you are, but do you even know anything about him, the guy sitting here?
I hurriedly said to Mary. Mary, it's okay. No need to say anything more. Then Mary, tilting her wine glass with a triumphant look, said to me,
You should just speak up, Kevin. Putting down such a vain and heartless woman would serve her right.
Hearing this, Linda raised her voice.
What? What is this? Who does this lady think she is? So rude to speak like that upon first meeting. Outsiders should keep quiet.
Ignoring Linda's words, Mary continued.
Rude? That's funny coming from you. You're much ruder. Well, take a good look with those clouded eyes of yours. Hey, bartender, show this rude lady the magazine from earlier, please.
Mary shouted to the bartender.
The magazine from earlier, right. Here it is.
The bartender placed an international edition of the globally famous fashion magazine Beauty Woman, abbreviated as BW, on the counter where we were sitting.
What is this?
Linda said, her eyes wide as she looked at the magazine cover.
Yes, that man on the cover is Kevin.
Mary said, looking even more triumphant.
No way. Isn't this a shot with the world-famous singer, Maria Smith? What's going on?
Linda frantically flipped through the magazine.
What? A 10-page feature with Maria Smith and Kevin? Why?
Linda looked through the articles and photos in the magazine, flipping back and forth in a fluster.
Explain this to me, Kevin.
Instead of me, Mary began to explain.
As you see, Kevin has become the exclusive hairstylist for the world-famous singer Maria Smith. His talent is highly regarded, and he's been getting offers from famous designers at Paris Fashion Week to do hair and makeup for their models. From your dowdy fashion today, it seems like you only know about local stuff and are clueless about the world. Did you know that in the global scene, hairstylist Kevin is a celebrity?
While listening, Linda repeatedly muttered in disbelief, "No way."
Because Kevin, you were just a hairstylist at some small, obscure salon in the suburbs. How did you rise to prominence like this?
While I was employed at the salon, I participated in various competitions. Even when we were married, I was challenging myself in contests and talked to you about it. But you looked down on me, never really listened or showed any interest. I didn't get great results in domestic contests, but when I took a chance and entered international ones, I was recognized. That led to being spotted by a renowned hairstylist, training under them, and then entering bigger contests. I won first prize there and got hired as Maria Smith's personal hairstylist. I explained to Linda, though I felt no need to. But since Mary had already shared much about my background, I reluctantly added my own explanation.
That's incredible, Kevin.
Linda exclaimed, then added,
Just like my ex-husband to achieve such things. Hey everyone, I'm his ex-wife, you know, Kevin. Let's meet up sometimes as exes, okay? For starters, I'd love to get Maria Smith's autograph. Can I meet her too?
I was astounded. Once she knew I had connections with celebrities, her attitude completely changed. She's so shallow.
You are such a despicable woman. Shame on you. Stay away from Kevin for good. Ex-wife or whatever, you have no relation to him now, right? By the way, you called Kevin's shirt cheap earlier, but it's from a famous brand, you know, this. You can't even recognize quality.
Mary raised her voice. But Linda, undeterred, wrapped her arm around mine and said,
Hey, Kevin. I've been regretting, you know, I think you were the better man after all. Mike has been all about work lately and doesn't pay attention to me. I feel so lonely. Please, I'm going to divorce Mike. Can we start over again?
I instinctively shouted, "Stop it," and shook her arm off.
Kevin really shook you off with disgust, didn't he? Makes sense. There's no way he'd reconcile with someone like you. Because, oh, speaking of that.
At Mary's words, I turned to see a silhouette of a petite woman. Sarah. The woman I called Sarah was my girlfriend.
Sarah, don't misunderstand, okay? Kevin did nothing wrong. It's all this woman's fault. She's the one who unilaterally wrapped her arm around him.
Mary defended me.
Yes, I saw everything. You're Linda, the ex-wife, right? Kevin showed me your picture before. I know how much Kevin despises you. I've been watching everything from a bit ago. She really is shameless.
Sarah said that. Mary was rolling on the floor laughing, saying, "I can't believe sweet Sarah's throwing such shade." Then Linda, pale-faced, realized, wait a minute. Isn't this girl, Sarah, Kevin's childhood friend?
Wait, how does she know me? This is scary.
Sarah was taken aback. Then a familiar male voice was heard.
Linda, what was that earlier? Asking Kevin to start over, getting that close to him.
My brother, and Linda's husband, Mike, was standing there.
What, Mike? How long have you been there?
Linda panicked.
I saw everything, how you were throwing yourself at Kevin. I heard it all. We're getting a divorce, you deceitful person.
Mike said, his voice trembling with emotion.
Kevin, I may have married Linda in a way that seemed like I stole her from you, but I've finally seen the truth. I was naive. I'm ashamed that I was fooled by Linda's sweet talk and fibs she told. I sincerely apologize for hurting my brother, Kevin. I'm truly, truly sorry.
Mike apologized deeply to me. It's okay. I don't hold a grudge. It's good that you've come to your senses, Mike. But maybe you should improve your judgment of women.
That's right. I need to reflect on that. I'll start over after the divorce.
No way. I won't let you divorce me. What are you talking about, Mike? Hey, we vowed our love for each other.
Linda clung to Mike's arm. But Mike, with a look of disgust, shook off her arm and coldly declared, "Don't touch me. I'll have my lawyer contact you about the divorce." Linda was sobbing uncontrollably.
But, it's so unfair. I've loved Kevin since we were kids. I dreamed of marrying Kevin ever since he was kind to me, the new girl in elementary school. So, when we reconnected at the reunion and started dating, then got married, I was so happy. That Sarah girl. She was from another school and used to be in the same calligraphy class as Kevin in elementary, right? I always saw it. Kevin coming home from calligraphy class with that girl. And now you're dating her. How cruel. I love Kevin more than anyone.
Linda cried as she spoke. I was dumbfounded. Then why, while married to me, did you decide to divorce and remarry my brother? Isn't that a terrible thing to do? Do you understand how I felt, betrayed by both my wife and brother? Have you ever considered other people's feelings? Or do you just grab whatever you want based on your whims? That's childish. No, even children understand others' pain. After our divorce, I struggled with insomnia because the emotional wounds wouldn't heal. Then I reconnected with Sarah through a local friend, and she was there for me, supporting me through my pain and considering my feelings. And now, Linda, you've hurt my brother Mike. You tried to get back with me in front of him, saying, "Can't we start over?" You've hurt people repeatedly. When will you be satisfied? You really are the lowest. I let out.
But wanting a husband with abilities and good income is natural, right? I divorced Kevin and remarried Mike because he had a higher income. But now Kevin is more successful and famous. So naturally, I think we should get back together, right?
In the next moment, Mary burst out laughing, saying,
Kevin and Mike, this woman is unbelievable. Cut ties with her quickly.
Then Mary addressed Linda.
Linda, I can somewhat understand your feelings, but fundamentally, as a person, you are wrong. If you like, I'm always here at this bar. Come see me. I'll give you a thorough lecture and straighten out your attitude.
The bartender chimed in.
Once you're in Mary's lecture hell, even the crying kids go silent.
Hearing this, I couldn't help but add, I know. I've seen plenty of people here tremble in fear under Mary's scolding hell. Both the bartender and I chuckled, while Mike and Linda were frozen with expressionless faces.
I'll be staying in a business hotel for the next 3 days, so you need to move out of the house within that time. I'll start the divorce proceedings tonight.
Mike told Linda. Realizing Mike's seriousness, Linda silently paid the bartender and left the bar alone.
Well said, I've got the gist of it. You were deceived by that woman for a long time, right? Well, your sin is not excusable, but you have no choice but to deeply reflect. Kevin is a magnanimous man, so I think he will forgive you. For now, buy Kevin a drink, and one for me too.
Mary said, looking at Mike.
Understood. Bartender, around for Kevin, the lady next to him, and Kevin's girlfriend too, please.
Then I seated Mike at the counter, leaving a seat empty between Mary and me, and I moved next to Sarah.
Today was our wedding anniversary. I never expected things to turn out like this.
Mike said, crestfallen. Mary silently comforted him by patting his shoulder. But Mike, you're stubborn once you make up your mind, right? If you've decided to divorce Linda and start over, I'm sure happiness will come your way. I encouraged him.
I'm a lousy brother who hurt you. Sorry.
Mike said.
Come on, it's all good. The evil spirit is gone. Now let's toast.
Mary raised her cocktail glass high, bought by Mike.
But today is an important day for Kevin. Enough about your brotherly woes. If you're truly reflective as a brother, then celebrate your brother's new beginning.
Mary told Mike.
New beginning.
Yeah, I'm actually moving to France for a while because of work. So, I pulled out a small box from my pocket. Sarah, please come with me. Let's get married. I will make you happy for sure. Inside the box was a ring. I had told Sarah about moving to France, but it was the first time I asked her to come with me. Tears welled up in her eyes as she said, "Thank you. I'd love to. I'll follow you. I will support you as your wife for life." The bartender quietly clapped his hands. Noticing this, Mary stood up, shouting, "Bravo," and clapped her hands. Other customers in the bar also turned to us and applauded. I glanced over to see Mike crying with big tears rolling down his face. Half a year later, I had expanded my work and network in France, achieving great success as a hair and makeup artist. Sarah and I were also living happily together. During a temporary return to the US, I visited my parents' house. My mother said,
"Recently, Linda's parents came to apologize. We were worried when you and Linda divorced and she remarried Mike, but you said you three had agreed, so we shouldn't worry, right?" But after talking to her parents, I finally understood it was all a mess. They felt responsible for raising Linda to be so selfish. They were very apologetic. Well, I always thought you boys lacked judgment in women.
my mother said, laughing. She raised us with a belief in the importance of high education, but now she has mellowed and supports my career. My father, needless to say, is also fully supportive.
By the way, Mike is dating a woman his age he met at work. I hope it works out for him this time, like it did for you and Sarah.
My mother shared this news with me. I was happy. I want Mike to find happiness too. And now I hope Linda will change, so her parents won't have to apologize for their daughter again at their age. It's possible to make wrong choices in life. Ideally, one should not make mistakes, but what matters is how you handle them afterward. I believe not everything will be smooth sailing in life ahead, but I plan to cherish each moment and move forward. There's a place for me in France. There's still a long way to go. With that thought, I left my family home and looked up at the sky, ready to board my flight.